People who do get enough for this shit. What's your job? I get paid an excessive amount to deliver excessively priced appliances to the extremely excessively well-funded occupants of Lake Tahoe. Like 90% of the job is just going on an amazing drive. Firefighter. We are paid for what we potentially have to do, not for what we do when we show up to work. On top of that, I can retire with a pension at 50 years old, and we work a schedule where every day you come to work it's your Friday. My husband is an overnight security guard at a ranch in a small town. He gets paid $17.50 an hour. He sits in the car and makes sure no one comes on the property overnight. Only one time he's had an incident, and it was a drunk driver that drove through the front fence, the pasture, then through the back fence and then got stuck. He called the police and they handled it. He's worked there for several years. It's an easy job, which is nice because he has some health issues. Production operator. I have really good pay for working an alright shift and am damn happy with my job, as I have zero education after high school and have worked a lot of shit jobs. Parks and Rec manager. I watch sports for a living. Ron. I own a septic tank maintenance and pumping company, and yes, I do get paid enough for your shit. Had a babysitting job during university. I showed about 2 hours before bedtime and we had a snack and I checked if they needed any help with homework and then we watched some TV. They went to bed at 8:30 and the parent came home around 6 in the morning. This was 2 nights a week and the pay was good. I spent the time either studying or just watching movies all night. In a different vein than most of the comments, I'm a nanny for a very well-off couple who are convinced their 2 boys are terribly behaved despite me constantly saying they're great kids. There is literal shit to deal with and they for sure have their issues. Not enough time to play or hang out with their parents doesn't help. But I get paid an outrageous wage to basically be a third parent to 2 cute kids. Recently went down to only 20 hours a week during school and make plenty to pay all my bills/rent and save a little. People who choose to do this their whole lives aren't doing so for lack of something better or whatever you might think. Sometimes this is a very competitive career choice. Residential appraiser. Pick my own hours and get $400 per report. Work isn't hard. Takes me about 5 hours. Everyone leaves me alone by design to not influence my value. Pretty sweet. Help desk for 20 years. I remember all the jobs before that where I said, I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit. Farmer, CRM, fast food, video store clerk, 7 to 11 clerk, call center. Although I kind of liked the graves at 7 to 11. Laughing face. Receptionist. I get paid $20 an hour to scroll through Reddit. Once a day or so, I need to have someone fill out a form. It makes for long days, but I'm doing classes to finish my undergrad on paid time, so it's all good. Throwaway for job safety. I'm a senior financial analyst in a manufacturing plant. My plant is very busy, making products that have seen tremendous demand increase since COVID hit. When COVID hit, they sent all of finance to work from home to minimize exposure, and we're still telecommuting. My workload has fallen off the table as I've made improvements to shortcuts and macros to do my work. My 40-ish-hour job now takes me 20. The rest of the time I just wiggle my mouse browsing Reddit, YouTube, etc. I pick up groceries, run errands and appointments, and other leisurely activities during my workday, and I'm convinced nobody has a clue. I'm salaried and am pulling in north of $100,000. The kicker is everyone loves me and talks about all the great reports I run and processes I own. So when someone asks me to do something, I happily do it. I've got plenty of free time, and definitely do get paid for that. Poker dealer. I don't really do much, basically just play middleman so people can play their game without concern. If there's any real issue I am supposed to just call a supervisor and let them handle it. I put up with plenty of bullshit, but it's not that bad. Used to hand out free samples for $10/HR when minimum was $7.50. I got to cook and joke around with people all day long. Hardly anyone gets mad at the person giving them free food, even if they don't like it. I loved that job. Edit, I'm in Arkansas. Minimum is $9.25 here. Cost of living is low and there's lots of tourism and jobs. Proofreader. I basically just make our company's stuff look like it was written by someone who paid attention in English class. I used to do the same thing but I didn't get paid enough to do it. Ridiculous deadlines, everything was always getting blown way out of proportion, lower pay, constant overtime due to intentional understaffing. I do way less work and get paid more now and everyone is much chiller about the process. Not me but my close friend is a V.I.P experience tester for a large hotel chain. He shows up and they roll out the red carpet. He stays in the nicest suite and makes constant requests for champagne, food, car services, dry cleaning, etc., and takes note of the speed and level of service. I asked him if it was a difficult job and he sincerely told me sometimes it's hard to spend the dollar amount I am supposed to spend in 2 days. I throw out a lot of food and alcohol. Of course it's all comped so he isn't actually spending any money, but he is expected to give the hotel 3-5K of action during his short stay. On top of this he gets a fair salary but any payment for that kind of work is worth it in my opinion. I work in a preschool. Never thought I would like working with kids, but I actually look forward to the days that I have work. Those little shits found a way into my heart. Engineer. I do mechanical designs of heat exchanger products. Chill in my own office and listen to music or podcasts all day while I'm doing layout drawings, making bill of materials or running design software/calculations. I get about 90K a year plus, usually, a nice profit bonus which goes a long way where I live, okay. Someone else commented asking us to list how long we have been at these jobs. This was my first job out of college and I have been here 5 years now. Anesthesiologist. Get to put people to sleep. It almost always goes well and the people are thankful. Rarely it does not go well and can get very scary very fast. We're fairly well compensated compared to other specialties. I work in the fitness industry. For the most part, the pay sucks and most people burn out quick and switch careers. I lucked out and got a coordinator job for a municipal event government. I oversee several facilities and provide training and presentations for select groups: police, fire, paramedics, etc. I make 6 figures and it's pretty much a cakewalk. I'm very aware of how lucky I am. I have a master's degree and about 15 years experience but I was just about to switch careers before I got this job. I was an employee at a top-tier firm, think Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, Google, and was legitimately depressed because of how brutal it was. Quit and now I coach people on how to get into those firms, i.e. interview prep, etc. Earn 5x my previous hourly. And I actually enjoy it. So ironic but amazing. In anticipation of potential judgment, I would 100% go back in time and do the job again for the opportunities and learning/training it provided. It's the best experience I never want to have again, and I always warn my students that it's an extremely tough job and they should be sure that they want to rise to the top enough to have no work-life balance. I work for the government and I'm way overpaid for what I do, honestly. There were people at my last job that made like 120K to scan documents all day. Another guy I worked with wrote dates on file folders and made the same. UPS driver, hit top rate at 4 years, bring in approximate 100K on 46 hours a week. Contracting officer, buying stuff, for the DOD. 100% telework, even without COVID, 6 figures, pension, benefits, job security. Job itself sucks, but I've had worse. If I get called after hours or on weekends, I get to bill $300 per hour. I'm an enterprise, massive corporation, software support tech. So yeah, I might have to wake up on Saturday morning at 2 a.m., but I just hear the cash register sound and get right to it. Drive tractor trailers, pays amazing but it can be exhausting and mind-numbing. Also can be terrifying depending on the weather conditions, but it only costs $5,000 from the school I went to get my CDL. Gotta deal with the DOT sometimes, and sleeping in your truck 6 days a week sucks being away from home, but it's got a lot of benefits to it, like I think I'm smart now cause I have listened to every podcast that has ever existed. No college. Shaky resume because I was picky and fickle in my 20s. I was starving in an apartment I could barely afford and asked the warehouse manager, who was paying me $14 an hour after 2 years, for a $1 raise so I had $30 for groceries every week. He said no. I hopped on Craigslist from my desk at work. After a rigorous series of 3 interviews, I was hired by a family-owned and run drug testing facility. I watch people pee who have been arrested or have CPS up their ass under a contract with the courthouse. Every 8-hour shift, I watch about 10 people pee and send emails from an air-conditioned office space. It started at $16 and I got a $1 raise every 5 months. 2 years in, I make $20 to do an absolute cushy job. I do not starve. I moved to the city. I bought my first vehicle with no cosigners. My whole life has turned around. A few months back, they put me in charge of the satellite office. I work with one female and the 2 of us do everything by ourselves. After 15 years of working shit jobs in food and warehouses, I actually know how lucky I got, and I don't wake up miserable about going to work. I definitely get paid enough for the 1 or 2 cheaters a month who get rude with me. I'm not in customer service. The clients, /money and payments, are legally required to attend their appointments with me, so there's no real risk of not making enough to keep running. My job is the best thing that's happened to me. I feel a true sense of freedom in my personal life. I save between $300 to $500 every month. I eat anywhere I want anytime I want. I am a single man with no obligations to anyone but me. It's great. I'm a union electrician. Depending on the local, it's possible to make really good money with no more than a high school education. People talk like construction is hard work, and it is, but it doesn't have to be backbreaking. There are machines to do most of the really heavy lifting these days. I'm an average-sized, almost 40-year-old woman, and I have no problem keeping up. Honestly, the hardest part of my day is getting to bed at a decent hour. Construction jobs start early. My dad is a clam farmer. He basically spends his days diving or fishing, and maybe every 2 weeks has to actually work, but only for a couple of hours. He lives on a tropical island, tax and duty-free, and drinks a lot of rum. He could earn a lot more than he does, which is still a tasty amount, but then he'd have to do more, so he's happy as he is. I'm an audiobook narrator. I basically get paid to stand in a 4x4 booth and pretend to be other people for a few hours a day. And then I spend a lot of time prepping manuscripts and doing research and rehearsing and learning dialects and accents and other various things. I also work as a television producer in sports, but there's not a lot of that going on right now. My schedule is extremely flexible. I have complete control over it. I'm pretty much my own boss, and so neither job is very stressful. The pay is okay, it's not huge, but quality of life is so much better that to me it feels like I make $1 million a year. Update. Here is a link to an AMA I did 3 years ago. Things have changed a little bit, but a lot of the basic stuff is still pretty relevant. At this point in my career, I've narrated over 80 audiobooks, so about 20/year. Hospital spokesman. I get paid 6 figures to come up with the words to make bad things sound better. But most days, there isn't something bad to make sound better. Most days, it's more about event planning. Most days, it's me telling people, come to this place at this time and sit quietly while I talk, and I will literally give you cake. I get paid over $100K per year to tell people where the cake will be.